Good morning, Jimmy.
Hey, good morning, Josh. And hey, everyone out there, welcome back to Dadschooled podcast. We are just a couple of regular dads figuring out life as we go, just like I'm sure most of you are. We're here to just offer a bit of encouragement, a little bit of digging through the weeds of life, and hopefully help you just find some purpose and stay grounded on this journey of being a dad and a husband.
Yep. And
So,
today
welcome.
we're going to talk about date nights. Woohoo!
Yeah.
Even if you're passed out on the couch watching a show together, and why it still counts. So we'll dive into why it matters for your marriage, how to make it happen because life's crazy sometimes, and how to do it on a budget. Maybe maybe not the experts on that, but funds aren't always there, so that shouldn't deter you from having a good time with your spouse. Um, so Jimmy, it's been some time
It's been
since
a
we did
bit.
this live, at least a week, as it
Yeah.
is every week.
Yeah.
um, but
We took a break.
we did. I had a business trip. I had to go out of town. Um, so I'm back now, and I am trying to get back into all the stuff and things that I deal with, work and family. Uh, got new projects I'm adding to my house, putting some new carpet upstairs in a couple weeks. So we're planning for that. I have to do bookshelf still. Still working
Yeah.
on lots
It
of things.
never ends.
Never ends.
Yeah.
Uh,
Never ever ends.
what about you? What you got going on?
Well, gosh, I think while you were out of town for like a week, just about a week you were gone, I
Yeah.
think you missed all the big crazy rain, all the crazy rainstorms that we had, which then leads my lawn to finally all wake up at once. And so that's been my last handful of days is battling the embarrassment that is my yard because it's a lot. It's just a thing.
Are we talking like, are we at machete length now, or are we
It
still like,
was it was it was close. It was there were, yeah, and all different shades of green and all sorts of different shaped leaves and everything growing all over the yard.
so maybe you're trying to naturally reseed your lawn by letting it get to the stage where it has the seeds
Uh-huh.
popping up, and then it falls off,
Yeah,
and you don't got to buy seed that way, right?
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. Self-propagating. It's all
So
good.
yeah. Now, are you a stickler for lawn care at your house? Obviously,
No, I'm not.
the second maybe not, but like overall, are you?
Well, I mean, it's funny. A couple years ago, several years ago, when we first moved back to Missouri, we were in a small group with a handful of other families at the church we're going to, and I was the oldest husband in the group. And every time we'd get together, I kid you not, all these guys who are like 5, 6, 10 years younger than me, the only thing we ever talked about was lawn care, like what variety of grass seed they were going to buy this year to apply to their lawn. And I'm sitting there like, I feel like I'm surrounded with a bunch of older gentlemen screaming at the kids, "Stay off the lawn!" And I was the
Now,
oldest one there. I felt so out of place.
was that back
They're
out
great
west?
guys, really. Huh?
Was that out west?
No, that was here in St.
I
Louis.
was here. Okay, yeah, I was gonna say like that. That must
Yeah,
have been a way different conversation. What kind of grass to use between here and there? But if it was
yeah, very
here,
different than in Denver, where nothing grows if you don't have a sprinkler system.
yeah, I for a long time I liked the idea of keeping my grass looking nice. Um, but it was just like you after a rainstorm, it was never convenient. You had work going on. You get to a weekend and it's nice and it's Saturday. Maybe the sun's out, maybe it's not, and you should mow the grass, but you don't feel like it. Then it rains, conveniently right when you're ready to do it, and then you gotta wait for the rain to stop, and then the grass is still wet, and it's just a whole thing. So
It is.
yeah,
It is. It didn't decide to wake up this year when it was convenient to my schedule. That was the challenging part. By the time I could get to it, it was getting out of hand. But it looks great now. It looks really good now.
good. I do
Yeah.
have some grass seed that I purchased last year, last fall, and I never put down. And then I have some more I bought this year, and I need to put that down too. So I'm gonna seed the crap on my lawn pretty soon. I just need to actually do it. But
Well,
anywho,
yeah, I mean, yeah, anywho, uh, I mean, it's really actually kind of similar to what we're digging into today and getting into this idea of date nights and how when we're not careful, life creeps up on you. Surprise, surprise. And sometimes it gets away from you. And we want to be putting those times together with our spouse and making sure that those are actual standout moments in our life. But sometimes the schedule just gets a little wonky.
so what part of it is like our topic? The mowing of the grass, the not wanting to mow the grass, or the grass
Oh,
seed that you have and you just haven't put down yet?
yes.
Yes. You can't be like, it's actually the weeding,
Yeah.
the
Well, I
pulling of
mean,
the
it's a little bit of all of that. Sometimes it is about pulling the weeds, and sometimes it is about just trimming around the edges and making it look pretty. The main purpose, though, or the main point, is it takes effort. In order for
Yeah.
it to be well cultivated, it takes effort.
We should do an entire show just in analogies. So like
Right?
you think you know what it's about, and on the surface it might be about like lawn care, but deeper it's about something completely different. That'd be kind of
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. We're good at that. The whole
We
word
probably
picture.
get like a couple sentences in and then stall and just, you know, look at each other.
So
All right.
what is the purpose of date night? Why run with that, or why include that in your routine in life with your spouse?
I mean, at the very grassroots, we uh we are together because we enjoy being together, right? We started out our relationship, at least I'm gonna speak for myself, and I'm gonna make a lot of assumptions for my wife while she's not here. So I just want everyone to realize that um, I and my wife were crazy about each other and loved being around each other all the time. And it was intoxicating not to to be around each other, and it was painful not to be around each other. As sappy as that sounds, it was just exciting. You first meet someone, it's just your life is focused on them, and then you get really really serious and you get married, and that didn't change. You're still crazy about each other, and now you get to share life together, and everything's perfect. You have kids, you have a job, you have the 9 to 5, you have the white picket fence. Everything comes together. Then what? Right?
Mm,
Like life is going on. You gotta be careful because it still is important to show your partner that you care about them. It's important to show them that they are your one and only, even though you have many other kids that you can also say, you're my one and only, you're my one and only, you're my one and only. All of you are my one and onlys. And they're like, but you can only have one favorite, Dad. No, you can't. No, you can't. You can have more than one favorite.
that's right.
Um,
It's like me with ice cream.
right. Exactly. Now, what does that mean? You like all ice cream or just one ice cream?
All it's all.
So like coconut infused pistachio ice cream.
I said ice cream, not not the dairy free stuff. It's okay. That's imaginary though. It's what we regularly have in our house, but ice cream, real ice cream. Anyway, yeah, date nights.
Date nights, yeah, date nights, ice cream, squirrel.
Yeah.
So yeah, date nights in general. Date nights will, I mean, it's a callback to your original courtship dates, is it not? Like you were excited to go out with each other, and then you have these times where you schedule with each other to be with each other still, and it's like you're setting aside all your busy schedule, and you're telling that person you're important to me again, or you never were not important to me, but you're important to me still. So it's a good time to connect, realign. You guys can have deeper conversations than just in passing all the time. Um, Yeah, and it helps you manage the chaos in your household. I mean, we're we're all subject to, combat rules change at the first sign of contact with the enemy. Not saying your kids are enemies, but sometimes you got to realign with your spouse on what direction you're going with things. And date nights are a perfect way to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think going just to the 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 base root of the whole thing is, I mean, scripture tells us when you become married, you and your spouse become one. There's this joining of you are now one entity in life, so to speak. Your home is built on a foundation of the two of you working in tandem together, especially once you bring kids into the mix. I mean, that's a whole new layer of adventure and challenge and everything. And how can we anticipate having success leading our home and our family moving forward as a healthy and cohesive unit if we aren't having intentional time for connection with our wives, if we're not actually pouring into just having regular communication. Date night is one of the best ways to have that time carved out, because in the daily, just regular hustle and bustle routine and everything that's going on in life, man, it gets hard. It gets hard to
Mm.
connect and understand. Other than just like, okay, let's pull out our to-do list. You get yours, I'll get mine, and we just kind of check things off. Okay, game plan, ready, set, go, and then it's and life. That's hard. Um, and to actually feel like you're doing it with your best friend, if you're not actually having these times that you're intentionally just focused on each other, then it's not going to feel like you're um, together. You're going to feel like you're alone, and that's not good. That's not the way we were designed to be.
Yeah, and there are times you got to be careful. I am really guilty of this. Is you get into the routine, you get into um, the daily grind, if you will, and your spouse could be doing this, and you could be coming to this realization at different times. Like maybe one moment you're feeling this way, and the next moment she's feeling this way. That you're just not connecting. You're not getting that quality time together. Um, and there's nothing worse. I mean, there's probably a lot of things worse, but for this sake of conversation, there's nothing worse than having your spouse come to you and tell you, "Hey, I'm not feeling connected to you," because that's like that's not fun. That it hurts. It makes you feel like you failed. So it's
Mm.
important that you put this kind of stuff on a schedule. You do something intentional with your spouse. That's the point. Is intentional. So is that always perfect? It's not always perfect. Um, I I remember when I was very early on, and I couldn't think of an appropriate example um, to say to all out there about my date night experiences. I couldn't think of an appropriate example, but I do have a great fail on when I had the best intentions at being romantic and the best intentions at um, looking like I knew what I was doing, right? But it totally didn't work out. It's been an ongoing joke for more than 20 years now for us. Um, One time, I took my wife on a nice picnic, and we went walking. This is before we had kids, very early in our relationship. I took her out, and we were walking in a park, and we started walking through a little bit of trees, and then we found a stream, and we were walking, and we heard the stream, and I could have swore I heard a waterfall, and I was all excited. I was going to take my wife to a waterfall. I had no idea what waterfall I thought I heard, but we walked for quite some time, and we came to the source of the waterfall, and it ended up being a road that was just cars going in the back. Like the stream ended in like one of those, like, not sewers, but like a culvert, and it was just cars on a bridge. Yeah, so I tried, and it was a memorable experience. So it goes to show you, even if you have a failure, the intent is there. Now that was the time in our lives when we didn't have as much stress. We didn't have as any stress at all, actually. um, but you have to realize when we go out, most of the times now, it's not like some grandiose going to a dance or a ball, and that could be different for different couples. But we usually just being together is like the key part of going out together. So we'll usually go shopping. We'll get something for the kids. We'll get groceries. We'll walk around together. But just like it's a different time in our lives where that type of thing, just being with each other, is so different than the normal that it's actually really enjoyable. It's and not that I don't enjoy my kids. I love my kids as well, but you need that quality time. And it's funny that even in your one-on-one time with your spouse, you're still all about your kids most of the time, and that's okay. But the point is to be with your spouse and be intentional about that.
It's like I remember growing up, my parents always joked, but there was a lot of truth to it, that their favorite date nights was holding hands while walking through the frozen food aisle at the grocery store. And
Yes.
what that meant was there were times if any of us kids were with them at the grocery store, like we had the list and we were the ones pushing the cart, and mom and dad would just kind of hang back. And that was their
Mhm.
time where they finally got to actually they could walk and they could talk and they could catch up with each other. But there were also a number of times where like, kids, you guys are staying home. We're gonna go to the grocery store, just the two of us, just because it's time uninterrupted. We can actually focus on each other. We can actually look each other in the eye. And I mean, that was it, looking back, it modeled to me that it was just about um, specifically intentionally setting up that time where, you know what, for this moment, even if it's sometimes it's in the middle of doing other things, this is intentional time and we are setting it aside to purposefully reconnect with one another. I mean, it was so much easier. We were married for I think 5 or 6 years before our oldest was born, and so it was easy. Like when we would both get off work, like, hey, let's go down
Mhm.
to the coffee shop, let's go hang out at Barnes and Noble, we'll get a couple magazines and just sit and chat and or whatever. We lived in Colorado, so it's like, oh, let's go on a hike here, let's go. And so obviously then things change whenever your first one's born a little bit. Routines are different and everything. But it was also challenging for us that neither like of our sets of grandparents were anywhere in the area. They were both back here in Missouri, and we were out in Colorado just on our own. Um, and so we didn't have the free babysitters,
Mm.
but we were also doing grad school, and so then or we had just finished grad school, but just life was, cash was strapped, everything was tight. Like life was challenging and different. Um, and that's where we started realizing, we can capture those moments at the end of the day. Like sometimes we're tired, but um, just enjoying a show, the two of us,
Mm.
sometimes is impactful and powerful. But for us, it's always been okay. The end of the day is when we pause together. This is our time to reconnect and focus together. We might watch a show together. We might each be reading something or whatever. Um, but I think one of the keys for us, and I think it's a trap for a handful of other people, we don't end the night on our phones focused on something other, focused on other relationships. I feel like that's a danger in a lot of homes and a lot of marriages is our phones connected to social media and everything else that's going on out in the world. And a lot of couples, I think even bedtimes are different times. One spouse is going to bed a couple hours before the other one, and sometimes that could accidentally and inadvertently maybe lead to some resentment, or um, the other spouse might have some concerns or questions. They're on their own again, they don't want to be around me. But in particular for us, our phones have a bedtime. Our phones actually, when we go to bed, they're plugged in the bathroom. They're in another room. Our phones are not in our bed with us, because uh, that's not the place and the time for our relationships with other people. And that end of the night for us is almost a date night fairly regularly. And it's very simple and it's very cheap, but it's time for us to reconnect, look each other in the eye, have conversation. How are you doing? What's going on in your life? It's not anything grand, like you're saying, putting on the ball gown and going and doing something grand and magical. But man, without those carved out times of intentional connection, we can tell that there's strains that go on our relationship.
Yeah. So, question about what you just said.
Yeah.
So if I call you at night, your bathroom's ringing.
Our phones are on silent, and maybe that's something we need to think about. Our phones don't ring in the middle of the night.
Gotcha. I was just checking and making sure. It's like, that's kind of interesting. Like,
no, it was actually one of the Christmas gifts I got a couple years ago. Is I bought a charging pad, and it's like a dual side by side charging pad, and so our phones just go in there. They sit down. Sometimes it's a headache that our phones don't actually connect, and we'll wake up and my stupid phone didn't charge last night. So sometimes it's not all it's cracked up to be, but it's for us, it's a big step for us because that was both of us had our phones plugged in on the side of our bed, and okay, good night. And I roll over and I'm scrolling, doom scrolling whatever's going on in the world, and then she's on her phone, and for like an hour we're next to each other, but we're not together. And so that was a Christmas gift I got one year was, okay, we're going to make a change because I don't like being together, but not together. I don't like being next to you, but not together. And that was an intentional change that we made. And it genuinely made a difference in our marriage.
Yeah. I mean, you talked about, you have your routine of, every night or most nights doing that. I believe before I took on the great bookshelf project of 2024 that has spilled over till 2025, our living room had a TV in it, and my wife and I would unwind most nights. We would get the kids to bed, and they were a little bit younger at the time, so we could actually get them to bed at a decent time. Now they're wanting to stay up later and later with us, which eventually would be fine to have them around at this time. But we would usually sit and watch a show together every night, and we'd sometimes we enjoy ice cream, but it was a good routine we got into. And the TV is down here in my office now, and the bookshelf is not done yet. So there's been no easy way to watch TV. I mean, we have a projector theater down in our basement, but it's not as convenient. So our schedule's changed a lot, and I've noticed, the past, what has it been, 6 months now, almost 7 months. Dang, I can get this bookshelf done. We just haven't been doing that. So it's like you can tell a difference. Like, hey, this isn't our normal routine. Things have changed. You got to be careful because you got to have a plan. Like you said, you got to schedule it out. You have to be intentional about what you do. And if you let yourself have the mentality of this is what we're doing and she's fine with it, and I'm fine with it, this is our schedule, this is what we've always done, you are probably mistaken. Just gonna be blunt. And you might feel like everything's fine, but in reality you need to put that effort and change that schedule, because if you're in the same schedule all the time, I mean, I have not experienced this personally, but you don't want to be the couple that it's like, oh, I never saw it coming. We were so happy together, right? And it's like your happiness might have been contentness on your part, but the other person might not have been, and they might not have known how to talk to you about it. You guys could have been growing apart slowly over time. Maybe it's awkward for them to bring this kind of thing up, and they feel like they're inconveniencing you. It's a very realistic feeling. I don't want to like inconvenience my wife. I don't, because I know she works a lot. She's busy. So for me, and recently I made this mistake of assuming that she's too busy for me to schedule something. Okay. I assumed that she was, because of our routine, I assumed that if I scheduled something, she wouldn't want to do it. That was on me. I made an assumption. I shouldn't have. I should have just scheduled something and we can talk about it if it was a problem. And obviously she made a good point too. It's more of scheduling it and not so much as, hey, we're leaving right now, get your things. Like springing it on her without planning. That's when there could be issues because it disrupts her plans, right? But there's
Right.
no harm in scheduling something out using, using a calendar, making more than one friend in the world and having them watch your kids. If you have that younger kid problem, we our kids are just to the perfect age so they can start watching themselves a little bit. It's really helpful to have kids that are old enough not to die when you don't look at them for a couple minutes. And
House hasn't burned down yet.
yes, I mean I'm a sole believer that a kid's like mission in life is to hurt themselves. That's how they're like wired somehow for the first, I don't know, 11, 12 years of their life. That's all they know how to do is make choices that hurt themselves. And then probably
Yeah.
hopefully gets better over time, but we're to the age now where we can trust our kids. If we leave the house together and we're like, wow, that was easy. Now we can go out on a date night or something. So it's about being intentional and scheduling it, um, and utilizing resources around you for date nights. If you have anybody like friends or co-ops around, they can help you.
Yeah, I think having that, recognizing that you want the romance to not go away, and so as I'm thinking back, as I've been talking, and I don't want it to end up sounding like we never actually go on actual dates. When we're home, we've tried to figure out how do we carve out intentional time in the home, but then also, yeah, how do you schedule and carve out that intentional time away from the home, and allow that romance to still kindle and be fresh and new and all that sort of stuff. But I mean, we're already super excited. I just found out a couple weeks ago, saw that we like the artistic things from time to time. We just saw Phantom of the Opera is coming back to St. Louis,
Hmm.
and it's gonna be playing over her birthday. And so we've already decided. They haven't started the tickets on sale yet, but once they're up, like, we're gonna go, and we're looking forward to that. Like, that's something that we enjoyed when we were younger, and we're excited to go kind of revisit that one. That's like a favorite thing for us. Um,
I've never seen that one.
and Oh, it's so good in live. Like, the stage production it's crazy good.
Is that the
We're
one with
looking
like the
forward to
half
it. But
mask face and like the Dracula guy who's
that
like
one,
singing?
yeah,
Okay, yeah,
yeah,
I've
that's the
seen,
one.
I've seen like I know the style. I've just never seen it.
Uh-huh.
Huh.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, we're super stoked to go see that at the Fox Theater. Like, crazy, old school, super artistic theater. That they just don't build them like that anymore,
Yeah.
sort of thing. And getting to see it there, like, it's gonna be really, really cool. But yeah, I mean, we still make priorities of carving out those intentional times, putting those extra exciting and fancy things on the calendar. Um, but yeah, how do you on a budget? I mean, that's, I think, kind of our key today is, how do you on a budget in the busyness of life? You can't just hold out, okay, because that's not until February. I mean, that's a ways off. And if
Mm.
I just said, okay, I booked that one, or we've circled it on the calendar, I'm good till then.
Mm.
That's not going to go good. So in our daily life, taking those intentional steps that we've tried to focus on, I think, has really made a big difference in um, our relationship with each other.
So you touched on it, and I want to reiterate this. It doesn't have to be extravagant and big. Like I have it in my mind. It's always like it's better in your mind than you actually play it out. So I have date night. My wife's gonna be like, "Oh, date night! I love it so much." And then we're gonna go and get dressed up, and maybe not even like fancy dressed up, but polo and khakis for me, dressed up. And
Right. Yeah.
we go out, and she's gonna be like, yes, let's go to this restaurant that I really want to go to, and she'll tell me exactly where she wants to go with no indecisiveness, and then we'll go and we'll have a great time. And she'll stare at me in her eyes, just glowing in the candlelight, and there's like violins playing in the background or something. All these things in my mind I can picture like the perfect date night, but that's like a Hollywood date night, isn't it? Isn't that more of like the stereotypical, this is what a couple going out in the town should look like? That's never how it is. Never.
I
It's
feel like when
like,
we go to those fancy dinners and we sit there and like, oh yeah, do you remember to pay the electric bill? And like that's the
yes.
conversation we end
Yeah.
up having.
And
So
you
how
know
do you
what?
not
I'm
follow that?
let's be honest. I'm prepped going into a date night. I'm prepped for sole focus on me and my sole focus on her, to the point where, and this is probably just my own flaw, obviously. Um, I'm looking at her and being like, "Oh gosh, this is so great." And there's an awkward silence of staring at each other, right? And then if she does mention something else, I might actually get annoyed. As weird as it sounds, I'm like, "Oh, it's about the kids again. It's with the electric bill again." Uh, yeah, that's a me problem. That's not a her problem. That's totally on me. And it's I guess managing your expectations. Like date night's about being with each other, not having a perfect script of everything going right in your mind. If you can't get the right
Mhm.
restaurant, not the end of the world. If you can't get out of the house on time, which never happens for us, not the end of the world. So just take those things in stride. But anyways, quick recap of all the plethora of things we talked about. You don't need a fancy dinner. You don't need to be 3 hours away or 4 hours away to do this. You don't have to go overnight someplace to make it meaningful. Um, it could be something quick. To the store together, holding hands. Ooh, that's a big one. Hold hands. It might surprise her if you grab her hand. She'll be like, "What are you doing?" But you know, make that move.
That's right. That's right. I mean, we even like we love going on road trips because that time in the car, like we're kind of stuck next to each other. Then hey, let's capture that time to actually have some meaningful conversation. So yeah, um, finding those moments, finding the opportunities, the openings in your daily life.
Yeah. So this week, what is? I guess ask yourself, what are you going to do this week? We're on Wednesday. The week's almost over, right? And it could be something as simple as making popcorn together. Woo! Like what is that movie? Ghost. I just said that, and all of a sudden, a real cheesy,
Seen
like,
it.
you haven't seen Ghost, but you know the scene I'm talking about, right? Where they're making the pot, and he's like behind
The
her.
pottery. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
making the
That's like the
pottery.
only scene anyone
Yeah,
remembers.
but like making popcorn. Yeah, I'm like behind her, helping her open the package, put it in the
Yeah.
microwave, hitting the buttons on the microwave.
Oh,
All
that's
like cheesy music playing in the background.
uh huh. Yeah,
Yeah, leave a note on her pillow, because who doesn't like to move paper when you're trying to lay down? You're dead tired.
that's right.
Sorry, popped in my mind. But no, like pick something this week. Make a plan. It doesn't have to be an extravagant plan. If you're terrible about this, Google it. How to date night ideas with my spouse. Date night
Ask
ideas with
Chat
this.
GPT.
Ask ChatGPT. Hey, I've been
Give me some
married 30
affordable
years.
ideas.
I have no idea what to do. Help me out. And ChatGPT will be like, "You poor son of no." Um,
Yeah.
so what are you gonna do? It's your turn. It's your marriage. Your relationship. You need to get out there and you need to be a part of it. So what are you gonna do? You know
Yeah.
what do you
And
do?
hey, we'd love to hear from any of you out there if you've got any crazy either big wins that you're super proud of, that something went even better than you could have imagined, or um the more likely scenario that we've probably all been there. What are some date night any good date night fail stories out there, or something that just that surprised you um in the other direction? We'd just love to hear from you guys. You can get a hold of us on Facebook, X, or dadschooledpodcast.com, any of those places. We would love to connect with you, offer you some personal encouragement if that's something that you'd love to have from us. We're here for you. But yeah, we want to hear your stories too.
I really want to hear any failures you have out there. Please. Like, I cannot wait to hear all the 1 and 2 stories we're going to get pouring in.
That way we
hopefully.
don't feel alone.
Yes, because that's like a good affirmation that we're not alone. And you can always count on the internet to deliver on crazy stories. So I really hope we get
Yeah.
some on this. And if they're good enough and clean enough, we will share them on this show. But if this episode encouraged you, if it helped you in any way, shape, or form, please share it. Please send it to another dad. That might be something that somebody else needed, that nudge to be better, to be a better dad. And we're all here to help each other. That's the point. We're not here to be alone and siloed. So thanks for hanging
Yeah.
out with us today.
Yeah, so glad that you guys are all here. And hey, next time I think we may have promised this on the last one, and then life happened and we missed an episode, and we're circling back. But next week we'll be getting into things that I never thought I'd say as a dad, but then here we are. So we'll be
Yeah,
jumping into that next week. Don't want to miss that one.
that's my bad, but we'll get that topic next time. That'll be good.
There we go. Yeah,
But keep leading your family with purpose, and we're all figuring it out together. But we're here for the journey and here with you. So join us again next time. Thanks.